because you can't see it. Because you can't see it. So that's Kusha and the Chromanots. And we're going live with the 19th element. Yeah, I know it's Thursday, it's Thursday. It should have been Wednesday. But I have a good explanation as to why it didn't take place at the usual time. And maybe the 19th element should be impromptu anyhow, because you can't predict what's taking place in the world. And if you're trying to monitor and keep up with the developments in the world, hey, it could occur at any time. So welcome once again. This is the 19th element, sometimes called the second half of the survival show. The first half being the Your Immunity Project. So check it out. Check it out Tuesday night's broadcast of the Your Immunity Project. So here we go with the 19th element, geopolitical news. Always above the brow, never below the belt. So here we go, 19th element. Let everybody know that we're live. Here we go. So it's all about building a new world. And you see that taking place all over the place. All over the place. They're building up a new China. They're building up a new Iran. They're building up a new Mali Empire in West Africa. They're building up a new South Africa. They're building up new things all over the world, except that part of the world which is going down. And so we don't want to go down with the part of the world that's going down. We want to rise with that which is rising. So the 19th element this evening is taking a look at what's taking place in many parts of the world. We're going to look at some of the destruction, but we're also going to look at some of the construction. That's a positive move in a positive direction. Now, this artwork that you're looking at, as I reminded you, is from the old Muhammad Speaks from decades ago, literally. And this was the vision of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad of the future. And some of that future has actually come true. Now, you won't see skylines like that so much in America. You'll see some of that, of course, the old-fashioned type. But if you want to see that modern landscape, skyscrape like that, you got to go to China. You got to go to Asia. You got to go to other parts of the world, because America and Europe are lagging far behind. They are not the future. They are the past. So let's get started with the geopolitical issues of the day. And of course, the Your Immunity Project broadcast from Tuesday is on my YouTube channel for your perusal. Now, of course, the overarching theme is finally, at last, the kings of the East are drying up the river Euphrates, and you see the result. The kings of the East refer to those nations, that were carved out about 100 years ago by the Peak-Psycho agreement between England and France, and created all of these artificial countries. And at the top of them, they put kings. The king of Saudi Arabia was crowned by England. They put a king over Egypt. They put a king over Syria, a king over Iraq. In fact, they created Iraq out of whole cloth. There never was a country called Iraq until England made it. Same with the Gulf states. There never was a country like Bahrain or Dubai or Qatar. Those were created by the British to exploit the oil wealth. And then they appointed a local, usually warlord family to be the kings and the rulers, the kings and the emirs. And of course, their major duty was to see to it that the oil flowed out of the oil wells and flowed into the tankers and made its way to England and America to enrich the British and the French and the Germans and make their economies run. And of course, the poor people who pumped the oil and from whose land it was extracted, they were left with just a pittance. I was told by a brother, doctor friend of mine who trained with me at Harlem Hospital, he was from Libya. He said the way it used to work before the revolution in 1969, led by Muammar Gaddafi, he said they would just run the taps, they just pump the oil out of the country. Then at the end of the year, they would just give them a few pennies for every barrel that they had taken out. And I told the brother from Libya, I said, that sounds like sharecropping in America. That's how they used to do us. Work us all year long, and then give us a pittance at the end and say we still owed more. So let the kings of the east dry up the river. The river Euphrates is not just the oil, but it's the helium, it's the sulfur, it's many of the vital materials that are necessary for a modern economy to work. And so it's a stranglehold on the entire world economy. And unless the blockade that is stopping the flow of traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is lifted very soon, in fact, it may already be too late. The economic experts are saying that the entire world will descend into a global depression, worse than anything that's ever been seen in the history of the world, worse than the Great Depression of the 1930s. So now this is to remind us of something that occurred not so long ago. About 6 weeks ago, we convened a National Congress of Deliberative Dialogue concerning the 9 ministries. And of course, we wanted to have that dialogue continue and culminate in a official National Congress of Deliberative Dialogue to come to official and legal decisions about our future as a people. We have to chart our own course. And so many people gave presentations on the day, July the 4th, 2026, in commemoration of the day of the coming of our Savior, Allah, in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And of course, we wanted to have continuing presentations in all of these areas of the 9 ministries. But I think I recently said that having observed the response, I'm a little bit discouraged. I'm not quite sure that the people are actually ready for a deliberative dialogue, or even to give much attention to the 9 ministries. I mean, I guess there are a few people who are, but I don't think the overwhelming majority of people are even paying attention. And so some of the original ideas that I had, saying that the ministries had to be built from the top down, not from the bottom up, I have to go back to the drawing board, because I don't think there's anything at the top that is going to bring down the 9 ministries. The New Jerusalem coming down from heaven onto the earth, on earth as it is in heaven, in answer to the Lord's Prayer. So we have to rethink what our strategy going forward is going to be. But deliberative dialogue, of course, is the way. That's how you communicate with God. That's how you communicate in a civilized manner with one another. That's how you come to know yourself, is through other people. They reflect back to you something of yourself. And if you pay attention to what others say and how others respond to you, then you learn an awful lot about yourself that you could not gain that knowledge any other way. And so how does the nation of God rule itself? Through deliberative dialogue, by consulting with one another, by respecting one another on the basis of equality. A circle is the symbol of both equality and perfection. It's the symbol of perfect equality. Because there's no big I's and little U's. Every point on the perimeter of a circle is equal to every other point. And who's in the center? Wherever 2 or 3 of you are gathered together in my name, there I am also in the midst of you. So that's a verse out of the Bible, but there's similar verses in the Quran. So see how easy it is to invoke the presence of God? All you have to do is come together in a circle of dialogue in his name, and he is there also in the midst. And if you keep God at the center, in the midst, then you will receive the right guidance to solve whatever the problem is that's under consideration. So the dialogue has started in many different ways, not necessarily, in a controlled fashion, but the questions are being raised, and answers are being given. And so the dialogue has commenced. So here's something I just ran across on YouTube. Is Farrakhan the Messiah? This gets to point number 12, what the Muslims want, what the Muslims believe. And so there are some people, I understand, that they do believe that Minister Farrakhan is the Messiah. And other people say, no, that's not what point number 12 says. And here's another dialogue session going on somewhere. I believe this is down in Texas somewhere. But anyhow, the people are coming together in dialogue sessions, and they're actually coming to an understanding of what the Muslims want and what the Muslims actually believe. Because a lot of times people misrepresent what the Muslims want. They misrepresent what the Muslims believe. And so everybody has to get it right for him or herself. You can't necessarily rely on people to give it to you right. They'll tell you what they want. They'll tell you what they believe. But is that what the Muslims want? Is that what the Muslims believe? And when I say the Muslims, I mean the Muslim followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. What do they want? What do they believe? And has that belief and want, has that changed? And so I think many people are realizing that no, this is the foundation of the Nation of Islam. This is what built the nation in the first place, by being very clear about what we want and being very clear about what we believe. When you're clear about what you want and you're clear about what you believe, then there's no confusion. And the Quran says that Allah is never the author of confusion. So I've been excited the whole month of August, because this is 40 years now since the founding of the Abundant Life Clinic here in Washington, D.C. And then, of course, I took it on the road for 10 years, all over the country and even out of the country on many occasions, And then because of COVID, I had to shut my practice down. But I'm back up now virtually. I'm never going to open up a physical office, as far as I know. Maybe that will change if conditions change. But right now, I'm launching a virtual Abundant Life. And so after 40 years of service in person, now we're going to offer the same level of service as close as possible virtually. So you need help, and just about everybody does. Something has gone wrong. Something is in need of investigation. Why suffer needlessly? So tell me what's wrong. More than likely I can help. And I'll give you options as to what can be done about what your complaint is. If it's something really simple and straightforward, hey, I'll recommend one of the protocols. If it's something a little bit more complicated and less clear as to what the diagnosis really is, then the system survey might be your best option. But the ultimate, of course, is autonomic response testing. This is what people used to call muscle testing. I used to do it in person. Now I can do it remotely using photographs that you send by email. So take advantage of it. For the first 40 people who get scanned this month, I'm offering a 20% discount. So normally a scan would be $175, and that includes 2 scans, really. You get the initial scan and the first follow-up. But the 20% discount reduces that down to $140, and you get your initial scan and your first follow-up for free. So take advantage of it while it lasts. And if you have ever been treated by Abundant Life in the past, let us know, because we're trying to reunite with all of those that we have served in the past. It's been our pleasure and honor to serve you in the past, and we want to do so going forward. So we're trying to fulfill the aims and purpose of Muhammad. We need a hospital for our sick, for real. I mean, I'm not under any pretense that a virtual platform is the ultimate answer, but it's the best that we can do right now. It's the best I can do right now. But maybe if we all get together, then we can do better than that. And so the website is dralim.net. So check us out. and make that a part of your plan on survival. How can you survive if you don't have health? Now, here's something I wanted to just briefly touch on, which explains why I was missing in action yesterday. Um, life is full of ups and downs, and that's because, you know, uh, we're not like machines that run at a constant rate in the same manner, but we are actually governed by biorhythms. So now what I'm showing you is my biorhythm from yesterday. And you see that green line going through that center point, that created what's called a crisis day for me. Now, the red line is the physical cycle, and the dark blue line or purple line is the intellectual cycle. So, the emotional cycle, the green, that's a 28-day cycle. The physical cycle is a little less than that, is 21 days. And then the intellectual cycle is 31 days. And so, if you see that green emotional cycle going through that horizontal line. See, above the horizontal line is the positive realm, and below the horizontal line is negative. Now, it doesn't much matter whether your cycle is in the positive range or the negative range, but when it transitions from positive to negative, or in this case, when it transitioned from negative into positive, that transition is called a crisis day, and it may last for 24 hours. Now, with women, this emotional cycle corresponds with their menstrual cycle. So, on one of those crisis days, which happens every 14 days, 28 day for the complete cycle. So, every 14 days, there's a crisis day. And with women, that either means they ovulated or it means they had their menstrual cycle commence. Now, men don't ovulate and men don't menstruate, but men also do have emotional crisis days. And so I wasn't quite feeling myself yesterday. I was wondering what was wrong, so I checked out my biorhythm and I realized, oh, I'm going through a crisis day with my emotional cycle. My physical cycle is strong, my intellectual cycle is strong, but emotionally, there's a crisis. Now, on a day like this, you see, you would have to be very careful with your emotions. Your emotions become very labile, meaning that easily inflamed. On a crisis day, things that are sad become really sad. Things that might make you a little mad on any other day, hey, you'll blow your lid. You see, everything gets exaggerated. And of course, these are days that are prone to lead to arguments and disagreements. And so, you would really be restraining yourself on these days so that things don't get out of hand. Something that's funny on a day like this, hey, you would be rolling on the floor for something that is not actually all that funny, and so things go to their extremes. And so this just is a caution. It doesn't govern your life, but it gives you a caution to be what to let you know what you should be aware of about yourself. This all has to do with the knowledge of yourself. What condition are you in today? Not what was your condition yesterday or last week. What is your condition right now? Well, because these biorhythms are constantly in motion, changing the actual nature of the condition that you're experiencing at any given moment. And so I didn't want to be on a broadcast on an emotional crisis day. Somebody might ask me the wrong question. Now, these are secondary rhythms that are built from the primary rhythms. And you see, that includes wisdom, mastery, and passion. And you can also see that my mastery cycle, it wasn't quite in a crisis yesterday, but it had been the day before. And so, in other words, I wouldn't be quite in control of myself. I wouldn't be in control of the information that I was trying to impart. Um, you know, I just wouldn't be doing my best job on this kind of a day. And so, exercising the best of judgment, a good intellectual cycle, I said, yeah, no, let me put it off for a day. I don't feel that hot anyhow. So anyhow, that's just a brief explanation of something that you should know about yourself. What are your biorhythms? So there's a website that you can go to. I don't think it shows up on this image. It's called facade.com, facade.com, where you can actually get your daily biorhythms done. Now, to come to some of the current events that are taking place, I've shown this image many times because it kind of sums up what really happened to America since 1914. 1914 was the end of the term given to America to rule, for this civilization that we have known to rule. It was up in 1914. So it turns out that in 1914, the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith was created, the FBI was created, the Federal Reserve Bank was created, and the IRS were created. And these are the four beasts of the apocalypse that, after 100 years, have destroyed America. These are the agencies. These are not government agencies. These are privately owned agencies or powers, or beasts, if you will. And they have literally destroyed America. And they ate America. And what you're looking at in modern day America in 2026 is the bare bones that are left after these beasts have savagely ruined the country. So the Anti-Defamation League has evolved into a political realm called AIPAC. And of course, any disagreement with Israel or Bibi Netanyahu or really anything that any Jewish person does is considered to be anti-Semitic. And because of their enormous financial power that was actually accumulated because of the Federal Reserve System. See, the Federal Reserve Bank is a privately owned bank. And the shareholders or the owners of the Federal Reserve Bank, they require payment from the American government, from the American people. That's where your tax dollars go. It goes to the shareholders and owners of the Federal Reserve Bank that then lends money back to the government at even further interest. And if anybody objects, then there's the FBI to enforce it. They will investigate you and harass you, if you do anything that is contrary to this diabolical REBA-based system. This is an interest-based system. This is based on usury and robbery and grand theft on a global scale. And of course, the IRS is to collect taxes from the general population, even though income taxes are unconstitutional according to the U.S. Constitution. But nonetheless, this voluntary system of taxation has been in effect for more than 100 years, and has led to the bankruptcy of the entire country. And of course, everybody's talking about the federal debt hitting $40 trillion. Now, what's not so much in the news, and I thought I had a few more of these images, unfortunately I don't, but there's explosions taking place all over the country. Explosions in West Virginia, explosions in Toledo. This was a blast that took place recently in Oklahoma. Explosions in Los Angeles. Explosions, I believe, in New Mexico. And so this doesn't mean that America's under attack, does it? I mean, there's explosions going off in Gaza, explosions in Lebanon, explosions in Tehran. There's explosions going off in America. So what's the truth behind that? So now many people are coming to the conclusion that this man, Peter Thiel, might be the actual incarnation of the Antichrist. He's going around giving lectures, even to the Pope, about the Antichrist. Now, of course, he is the founder and creator of Palantir. Palantir is the big tech company that's spying on everybody. Palantir is the company that is providing targeting information to the U.S. military, to the Israeli military, so that they can find Palestinian children to shoot them through the head. So Palantir was from the Lord of the Rings. That's the all-seeing eye of Sauron. And so Palantir has become a literal all-seeing eye that is spying on American citizens. Now, don't forget, right after he was inaugurated, Donald Trump invited Peter Thiel and all of the other Silicon Valley oligarchs to the White House and promised them $500 billion of taxpayer money, to fund their data centers to be built all around the country. And of course, that's going on. And the data centers are gobbling up all of the electricity, all of the water, to be able to run their surveillance operations on each and every one of us. So Peter Thiel is the major backer of Vice President J.D. Vance, whatever his name is. The man changed his name about 5 times. Don't know who J.D. Vance is. He claims he named himself after his grandmother for some reason. I guess that's when he thought he was gay. Then he found out that he's not. Now, this is the finance minister in Israel who says he plans to bring 1 million Jews to Israel over the next decade. Well, I think he better do better than that, because at the start of the hostilities in the recent period, they said Israel had a population of 12 million people. And recent estimates say that the Israeli population is down to about 6 or 7 million now. About half the people have left because Israel was so supposed to be a safe homeland for Jewish people. I couldn't think of a more dangerous place for a Jewish person to be than Israel. But what do I know? Now, here's something that caught my attention. Liberia agrees to accept up to 1,200 third country deportees from the USA. Yeah, all these people that they're rounding up with ICE agents all over the country, rousting them out of their homes in the middle of the night, locking them up with no due process procedures going on whatsoever. And they've been looking for places to send them. And so now here's the president of Liberia meeting with Donald Trump saying that Liberia take them. Send us your refuge. Send us your prisoners. Send us those that you locked up and deported. It's like a reversal of the slave trade, isn't it? Isn't it like the reversal of the slave trade? I mean, I can't keep up with things. And see, this was the start of the slave trade. See, Jesus of Lubeck, that's the name of the ship, the good ship Jesus, that brought the original slaves to the shores of North America. Yeah, King James, who wrote the Bible, the book on demonology, Jamestown, Virginia. Yeah, it's all tied up together. You were brought over here on the good ship Jesus. Yeah, and that began 400 years of suffering and misery to fulfill that which was promised to the seed of Abraham. Now, I don't think everybody on the slave ship was the seed of Abraham, but some of them were. Some of them were. You see? In the hold of a slave ship, being brought into servitude slavery for 4 centuries. Well, have you had enough yet? Have you had enough? Well, you want a little bit more. Because if you don't learn the lessons of history, then you're doomed to repeat them. Look at this. Black man found hanging from a tree in North Carolina. This is just the other day. This is just the other day. And then somebody else got lynched. Was that in Mississippi earlier this year? Then the poor brother got thrown overboard of a party boat. See, what's going on in America? Well, the same thing that's always going on in America. When has America ever changed? When did they stop lynching black men and women? Now, this is Turkey's President Erdogan. Yeah, when we were on the World Friendship Tour, we met with Mr. Erdogan. In fact, we went to a banquet with him and his party. This was before he was president. He was just running. And I remember the chant that went up in the room, Erdogan Farrakhan, Erdogan Farrakhan, Erdogan Farrakhan. Yeah, it was a wild meeting. And so people have been very disappointed in Mr. Erdogan because, number one, he's a member of NATO, so he seems to be more loyal, to the Europeans and Americans than he is to his Muslim brothers and sisters. He gets a lot of criticism for trying to play both sides of the fence. I mean, Turkey sells oil and petroleum to Israel, even now. While he's talking about, what Israel just did to them, well, why are you still selling them oil? Mr. Erdogan, 99% of your people want you to take action against Israel right now for what they're doing to the Palestinians. They don't like that. And they don't like the fact that you're in collusion with Israel as they're committing genocide against your own Muslim people. Some say he has aspirations to reestablish the Ottoman Empire that was overthrown by the British 100 years ago. Now, of course, another Israeli minister, Ben Gavir, he said it's necessary to target, assassinate 30 to 40 Palestinians every night. So here they killed 9 more, wounded 23 others. Now the official death toll is 73,000. Many people say it's probably 3 or 4 or 5 times that many people that have actually been killed. They don't know all the people who are buried under the rubble in Gaza and all of those who are being killed in the West Bank as well, and Lebanon. So this is the breaking news. U.S. national debt is $40 trillion. Donald Trump alone has added $16 trillion to that 40 trillion. They say he's responsible for 40% of this debt. The art of the deal? Yeah, the art of the deal. Because Trump cashed out. He left you holding the bag, but he cashed out with his meme coin that he and his family are promoting. All this other stuff, you know, the Trump phone, the Trump sneakers, you know, the Trump coin, the Trump vitamins, remember that? The Trump prescription drugs, remember that? All the stuff that Trump promised, and people didn't get anything. They never got that Trump phone. They never got a phone, but he got their money. And so he said, they say that he cashed out for 635 million. That's not counting his sons and how much they're cashing out, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. So it's a big money-making deal in the White House. This is probably the most corrupt president in the history of the country, and that's saying something. That's saying something. So you can see the exponential rise in the national debt here. You see, so where does it go from here? It goes into the stratosphere, which means that suddenly this debt is unpayable. It becomes obvious to the entire world that this debt can never be repaid. It has to be written off. I'm told that the U.S. has to come up with $9 trillion more to satisfy its sovereign debt before the end of the year. Where are they going to get $9 trillion from? On top of 40, and you say, well, you say, well, that all they have to do is print it. Well, yeah, that's when they are able to sell U.S. Treasury bonds. They have to sell the debt, and people have to be willing to buy it. They have to believe that one day they're going to get paid back. But when they see a steep climb in debt like this, then it's obvious, oh no, this is going exponential. This is going to infinity. And so it means that the US dollar system is dead. The US dollar is worthless. So now, this is when the debt was only $39 trillion. That was last week, I guess. So there's public debt, and then there's these international, intragovernmental debt. That means different agencies in the government owe other agencies in the same government. And then who holds the debt, who owns the debt? Domestic holders, and that includes mutual and pension funds. See, if you have a pension fund, hey, you own some of this debt. That's part of your investment. And depending on what percentage of your pension fund is held in U.S. Treasuries, hey, it's in trouble. So there's individual investors, banking institutions, and other domestic holders, and that includes the Federal Reserve Bank. The Federal Reserve Bank buys its own debt because nobody else will buy it. The Japanese don't want it anymore. The British don't want it anymore. The Chinese, they're getting rid of their debt. You see, so the foreign holders are refusing to buy any more of America's debt, which they use to fuel a war machine that then is used to attack them. Why should China lend America money so that America can build armaments to attack China? So they're saying, no, we don't want your debt. And so that's the end of the dollar system. But don't worry. Don't worry. Donald Trump has declared the Strait of Hormuz to be new U.S. territory that he controls completely. And of course, Iran answers back and says California is now Iranian territory. Now, what's really killing people, literally, by the thousands, by the tens of thousands, in Europe, and even here in America, but especially in Europe, this is in the UK, in Britain, and you see those temperatures in Celsius. So just double that. See that 40 down there near London? Okay, to convert Celsius into Fahrenheit, you just double. So that would be 80. 2 times 40 is 80. Then add 32 degrees. So 32 degrees on top of 80 gives you 112 degrees in London, England. And the people are angry because they don't have any air conditioning and no water. So what do you do when it's 112 degrees, there's no air conditioning, and there's no water to drink? What do you do? Well, a whole lot of people die. That's what they do. They die. Now we're going to take a look at something that is really a crisis, which is the food. And with the Your Immunity Project for years, I've been warning, that there's a coming famine. And so I was always thinking about famine as being the absence of food. You go to the supermarket and the shelves are empty. But you go to the supermarkets, the shelves are full. You go to Costco, you go to Walmart, the shelves are full. The dairy section is full, all kinds of milk. Except what you find out, that none of these brands of milk are really real milk. I'm not going to give a lecture on milk. The only milk that is milk is real milk, and that's raw milk. That's raw milk from, a raw milk producer, from a raw milk farm, like the Amish farms and others as well, organic pastures farms in California. But most of the commercial brands of milk that you find in the supermarkets, it's not real milk at all, fake milk. Can you get healthy on fake milk? How about fake chicken? Popeye's not the only one. 7 U.S. chicken restaurants that don't use real chicken. Well, what do they use? Well, mostly it's just cornstarch. And that's why they have all these ingredients in it. Because how do you get cornstarch to taste like chicken? That's food science, isn't it? So it's not real chicken. Here's a whistleblower. He's trying to blow the whistle on McDonald's. A lot of people are blowing the whistle on McDonald's. That doesn't stop the people from herding in and gobbling down as much of it as they can. How many hamburgers have they sold over the years? I mean, I remember when they hit 1 billion. I bet they're up to 10 billion now, 100 billion, But people have done experiments to show this food doesn't ever spoil. You're looking at fries and burgers that might be 10 years old. That's how they would look 10 years after they were served to the public. Look at water. You think what you're drinking is good water? Well, number one, how could it be safe to drink coming in a plastic bottle in the first place? And so all the chemicals that are found in the water, many of them have been associated with cancer. And of course, many of it's fraudulent in the first place. Was at Deer Park, they found out they were just taking New York City tap water and putting it in a bottle and selling it for spring water. I think that was Deer Park. And look at what they're doing. Why should you be paying any amount of money for water? Shouldn't water be free, just like air? Yeah, it should be free. But you're paying more for water than you pay for gasoline to put in your car. And then it's poison. Look at the eggs. I've noticed many of the scans that I've done recently, almost everybody tests against eggs. And I don't think that is because of the eggs, but I think it's the way the eggs have been raised. 90% of what is sold in this country as butter is fake. It's not real butter. It's not, and I'm not just talking about margarine either. This is not bacon. People eating what they think is bacon. It's not bacon. It's something else. Remember Bill Gates and them, they were building these factories to make artificial food, to make it look like real food, real meat. Make it look like real meat. So is that what this is? It's not, it's not your grandmother's bacon. This is not chocolate either. Many people have allergies to chocolate, or it may not even be chocolate. What do you think it is? They say it's chocolate, but it may not be. Then look at the high prices. So you feel less than you think you should. So then you go to the vitamin store, and you buy some multivitamins. And what do you find? They're contaminated with all kinds of toxic chemicals. And many of the vitamins that are in them are not even biologically available vitamins. The body can't even use them. Bogus. Many food chains have now been discovered to sell nothing but fake food. Aldi's is taking a lot of heat. People are finding out, hey, yeah, the prices are cheaper, but that's because it's not real. Aldi's not the only one. And here's the eggs again. Fake eggs, advertised as organic, pasture fed, pasture raised, and all kinds of contaminants and pollutants in the water. And you paid a high price for that water, and it's killing you. We talked about the feminine products on the Your Immunity Project just the other night. And we're so glad that Risa Islam is coming up with at least a partial answer to that major problem, producing a safe sanitary napkin. I think he calls it the peace pad. I think he calls it the peace pad. So check out Risa Islam's peace pad to stay away from these toxic paper products that are on the market. Poison everywhere. So the principle is that food heals. Drugs and medicine, vaccines never do. So you have a choice. See, are you in the abandoned life market? If you're walking around up and down the aisles in some of these major supermarket chains, yeah, you're in the abandoned life market. You have abandoned life. And where you should be is in the abundant life market, where you're eating real food, according to the principles of how to eat to live. So check out Abundant Life Market. They produce their own non-GMO, biodynamic produce in covered gardens. So check out abundantlifemarket.com. If you're in the Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland area, you might even be able to get free delivery of your groceries from Abundant Life Market. They're also where you can order your green cake. Now this is an image of me back in the day at my office, and I think this was the day that we manufactured the first batch of the super green powder. The green cake is made from this powder. So this was a powder that I invented for the benefit of my patients who were being affected by radiation, but I found out it does so many other things. And then, of course, the powder was used along with honey and tahini to produce what is called green cake. So all of these products are or soon will be available, on the website, dralim.net. So the only way to get around the poison food situation, you have to produce your own. You have to produce your own. And so you actually can't practice how to eat to live unless you are also producing the food that you're eating. How to eat to live is based on fasting with the right food as being the cure for all of our ills. Fasting means eating one meal a day, or one meal every other day, or one meal every 3 days, and fasting 2 or 3 days every month. And then the right food is where people get hung up, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad warned us to get our mouth out of the white man's kitchen, because he saw what was being done to poison the food chain. And we just went over some of that to show you how poison it really is. So we have no choice but to grow our own, to have our own gardens, have our own farms, have our own greenhouses, have our own vertical gardens, indoor gardens. We have to produce our own food. Otherwise, you might be fasting, but without the right food, then that fast actually is, it's actually starvation. See, fasting has to be supplemented by the right diet, by good nutrition. Then you get the benefit of fasting. But fasting with the wrong food, with devitalized food, with poisoned food, hey, you're just hastening your own demise. So how to eat to live in that sense could be dangerous if you're not eating the right food. So I can give you some horror stories where that's concerned. People did a lot of fasting, but they neglected to get the right food. So once again, Abundant Life is now going virtual. We're putting together a virtual platform to deliver services virtually. So just tell me what's wrong. Just get in touch with me with the website or with my email. My email is dralim@protonmail.com, and the website address is dralim.net. So be one of the first 40 to get an autonomic response test scan done, and you will receive a 20% discount on your initial scan and, of course, the follow-up scan. I think that is the last image that I wanted to show, and we're up on 50 minutes into our broadcast. So I want to thank you for being with us. This has been the 19th element, and I hope that something that was presented is enlightening to you and inspiring to you. I hope all of the news doesn't hit you in a negative way. I hope some of it is inspiring and uplifting. So thanks for being with us. Now don't forget, this Sunday and Monday with prayer and fasting, I'm there 9 a.m. on Sunday and Mondays, both days. So please be with us then. And then, of course, next Tuesday at 7 p.m., the Your Immunity Project once again. So thanks for being with us. I'm your host, Dr. Alim, signing out. Assalamu alaikum. Nothing to lose.